My name's Paul Baines, Professor of Political Marketing at Cranfield School of Management and co-author of Marketing, the third edition by Oxford University Press. In the next interview, I'll be interviewing Callum McGeogh, Creative Director at Livity, the youth engagement agency. And we'll be talking about how Livity created a campaign which turned youth marketing on its head as part of a campaign for Childline, the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children's national helpline.
I'm Callum McGeogh. I'm Creative Director of Livity. We are a youth engagement agency. We work directly with lots of young people every day to co-create campaigns, content, communities, and content strategies for brands, broadcasters, governments and charities. And we do that by working directly with young people, as I say, and there's a mutual exchange of skills and experience and contacts and routes into employment and education. And we get out of that exchange unprecedentedly rich youth insights, understanding of their media usage, what makes them tick, what turns them on, what turns them off, who the latest celebrities are and up-and-coming talent that they want to tap into. And that gives us a real edge over our more traditional rivals who tend to be less audience focused and more discipline focused. And that means that they struggle to keep up with the youth market. Our take on social marketing and working with charities, not-for-profit and cause-related or behaviour change in the social and societal level is very much not to come at it from a different angle than we would for working for a brand. And when we started Livity 12 years ago, we saw a huge gulf in the way that some of our public sector clients, like back then Lambeth Council or Teenage Cancer Trust, were trying to do their youth communications compared to some of the commercial brands like O2 and Nike. And actually, although the charities and not-for-profits understood some of the problems and some of the behaviours and attitudes underlying young people very well, the brands have always been much better at effectively communicating with them and influencing them and getting them to want trainers as opposed to getting them to want to eat healthy food. So our approach has always been very much to tackle any social problem as if it's a commercial marketing challenge. And that's worked really well for us. I think it's definitely true that young people do see the world differently and through different eyes and through a different emotional lens. We have the privilege of almost sharing that with them because we work so closely with young people on a daily basis that we have a living, breathing ethnographic research project going on in our offices. So that means that we can really speed up how we can get to what the solution is, the right solution is going to be based on a kind of intuitive understanding of young people that other agencies don't have, that you don't get from a quantitative report about young people's attitudes that lands on your desk, that's out of date before it's even reached your desk. The brief that NSPCC came to us with was to reach a certain demographic of young men from lower income backgrounds, particularly from inner city areas, in their sort of mid to late teens. Childline, which is an NSPCC-backed service, has a core user base of 13, 14-year-old girls in sort of home counties and outside of London. So it was skewing the age, gender and demographics that they wanted to do in order to start reaching an audience that really needs that service, but doesn't really self-identify with it at all. A traditional approach would have been doomed to fail from the start. Traditional ad agencies, marketing agencies and media buying agencies, they call this audience hard to reach. They're not hard to reach. They're only hard to reach if you have very blunt instruments. And traditional ad agencies and media buying agencies, to be blunt, are trying to protect their old way of doing things and their old budgets, and that means getting lots of money from clients to create expensive ad campaigns, print, TV, whatever else, and then buying their way into reaching youth eyeballs. Young people don't watch TV really these days, not in the same way that they did in previous generations. They don't read print, and they're much more in control of their own engagement with media by filtering through their social experiences. So you have to reach them through social media and through video content that they choose to watch themselves, and that particularly video is very powerful because it's the most powerful trigger for conversations. And because if you're trying to, and we're on a fairly tight budget with a charity like the NSPCC as well, and so you've got to make something that is going to send its own ripples and draw its own audience in. So that's why we took this approach. We put research and insight at the very heart of everything we do, and it's the most important thing. In the case of this particular brief, we're very fortunate in that the audience that we were asked to communicate with is our home turf. It's our home audience. It's the one we know best because we spend our day working alongside them. They come into our offices, young people from inner city areas, and they're not the same up and down the country, but there are commonalities across those. So we had a very good starting place. We felt confident. We knew a lot about this audience, and of course we went out and checked that, and we took other people's research insights, but instinctively we immediately knew how to approach it. And that goes for understanding what drives their behaviour, what makes them choose to engage or not engage, and also things like which singers and rappers they look up to, what YouTube channels they subscribe to, and what social media they have, which type of conversations in. All of that stuff we had from the minute we got the brief, whereas more traditional agencies that don't have that privilege of working closely with young people would have had to spend the first week getting all of that stuff. Childline had a dilemma that they've had for a number of years, which is that partly inherent with their brand and their name is that they began primarily for children, and the sort of 15, 16 to 21 age range obviously don't associate themselves with being children. But also just the way that the charity has evolved, their core heartland user group has been mainly girls, mainly in the sort of 10 to 13, 14 age range, and from relatively sort of affluent areas. And that Childline knows, as a charity with a remit to provide as much help to young people in the UK as they can, isn't serving the audiences that need it most. So that was the challenge to us. And so we thought, how can we, in a credible, authentic way, introduce Childline, increase their propensity to call Childline with a problem or for advice, to feel there's a trusted place, and also through the work generally encourage young people to talk about their problems with each other and to share them and to not bottle it up, because that's a very corrosive and damaging thing to do. So not only was this an audience that was very close to our heart, but an issue that we as a company feel very motivated around addressing. So that's why we really seized upon this brief. We won it, and then we delivered an award-winning and highly effective campaign. Well, we started by talking to the young people in the room. An example of that might be, well, first of all, choosing the channels, choosing YouTube as the primary epicenter for this, and music and YouTube being the biggest destination for this target audience in terms of where they spend their time and the type of things that they're choosing to watch that cancels out all of the the messages that are coming to them from TV adverts and from print media and outside posters, because they're watching music videos on their phone the whole time. And not only that, but they also are a lot of their aspirations are tied up into music as well. So lots of this target audience aspire to be singers, songwriters, MCs, and that came directly from conversations with young people, but also something that we've observed many times over. That music is by far the most powerful motivator for them. And then once we'd identified that, we talked to a group of our representative of our audience in this very room, dots of them, who were here off their own accord because they were learning skills, and said, cover this wall with who you think is the most relevant artist that could carry this message. And the one that at that particular time that rose to the top was a guy called Devlin, who is very respected rapper in the underground, whose lyrics are very confessional and very honest, and he talks about his battles with his parents and with diabetes and all kinds of things, but is also very cool and credible and signed to a major label, so there's a bit of marketing budget behind him. And so we commissioned him to create a song, but not to finish it. And so he created 2/3 of a song in which he modelled the behaviour that we wanted young people to do, which is to talk about their problems. And then we attached that to the Childline brand, and then we created this call to action for young people to come and get involved and collaborate. And everyone who took part had a chance to have something really unique come out of it, which was a video featuring them. We started to observe the success of this campaign from the minute that the call to action video went live. We partnered up with a channel called SBTV, which has a huge audience, right within that demographic. And immediately we started getting lots and lots of engagement, lots of comments, lots of views, and young people from exactly within our target audience asking us questions about how they could go about entering and asking all the right questions. So we immediately knew we were on something. And then as soon as the first entries started getting their bits of video content with them in it, alongside the rapper Devlin, and started sharing that out, then suddenly the kind of floodgates opened and everyone wanted to have a go. Even if they didn't want the star prize, they wanted to get one of these bits of content. So we measured the success in terms of, instead of pure numbers, with video views, comments, likes, shares, and then the kinds of comments that were coming through. And then in the actual entries themselves, so we had over 1,000 pieces of really high quality, it's a pretty high barrier to entry competition, and really 1,000 amazing videos where young people had written lyrics about everything from having alcoholic parents to feeling depressed to rejection and all kinds of things. Really difficult subject matters for young people to talk about, but talking about it publicly and openly, but doing it through the medium of music, where behaving like that isn't a taboo, it's actually something to be praised and lauded. So that was really effective. And then we did sentiment tracking. We did a entry and exit poll of young people. So we did a sub-competition to win some signed trainers and stuff, and we had hundreds of entries, and through that we saw what their propensity to call was and their feelings about the brand, which had a huge increase. And then Childline and NSPCC themselves did independent evaluation, but we also know from anecdotally that the calls to Childline had a huge spike, and it wasn't just a very temporary spike, it was fairly sustained, and that there were completely new types of callers. They were, in fact, we had to sort of really help them understand the types of language and the types of problems that this audience would have, because it was a whole new audience. So that was a great result. That was a great result for the client, and any great result for the client is a great result for us.